in this moment, I want to share really my journey of giving and how I came to actually start I guess you could call it a company organization called the Give Love Project. So for me, growing up, like many of us, I was told that we give on holidays, we give to people that we know, that we love, it's someone's birthday, it's a wedding. We have, as a culture, all of these different socially agreed upon times of giving. And what I found is that if sometimes you step outside of that and you start giving to people on times that aren't designated or agreed upon by society, there's a lot of mistrust. There's a lot of these other energies that come into play that I've always been curious about. So for me, I remember I grew up as an actor, so I remember when I got my first check, one of the first things I wanted to do was go find someone who was homeless and give them $20. And I was probably a 15-year-old kid at this time. I remember walking up to this homeless man and giving him this money and then just having this experience. But he was in shock and I was in shock. It was just this beautiful exchange. And so from there, I've always looked to see how I can become a greater giver. And I've always also been in introspection around these holidays because I felt that, like many of us, there can be this experience of tension, like, okay, it's my friend's birthday and I love them and I don't want to be the person to show up without being there to give them something. And so, okay, let me go to the store and let me buy some, let me figure something out, which in my heart and in my mind, it feels like a backwards process. I feel like inspiration comes to give and then you go and then you give, not that there's this date on the calendar and someone says, oh, you must give, and then I have to go and find the feeling and then go find the thing and then go give them a gift, right? So eventually I just stopped bringing gifts to people because I really started to understand that it's not about the thing, it's about the love, right? It's a gesture. Someone comes and brings you a gift. It's not about the watch, it's not about the shirt, it's about the acknowledgement that this is a totem of someone saying that I love you and I thought about you. And this moment we're acknowledging that. And so I started to be in the practice of knowing that that is the essence of what the exchange that is happening, so we can just get to the energy. We don't need the stuff, right? And so even if someone now is bringing me a gift, I know we also have the experience like I had, that I'm, it's Christmas and someone bought me more socks or more boxers that I didn't need, and I go, okay, thank you, I appreciate that, and I feel the intention, and I may pass these along to someone, or maybe if you need the money, you can return it, but I acknowledge the exchange, and this is very beautiful. And so more and more as I sat in this question, I would give to nonprofit organizations, and this feels good, but then I feel like, okay, if I have money, it's easy to give money when you have money, and I'm questioning what's really going on. Maybe they're doing something beautiful, maybe they're not. I'm hearing about all this corruption. I don't know what's really happening, and I really want to have a beautiful and positive effect. My favorite quote on giving is by Khalil Gibran. I don't know if you guys know who this is, this poet. He has a book called The Prophet. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend that you read it. But he says that you give but little when you give of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give. So asking myself this question, how can I give of myself? One day I was meditating, this was maybe 6-7 years ago, and I had this really strong energy overcome me. It was really powerful, and the universe was saying to me, you need to do a project centered around giving so that I can be in this conversation of a lot of the things that I'm sharing with you right now, and we can, as a culture, move into another dimension, because I know that when you can't give to someone that you don't love. In that moment of giving, you can turn a stranger into a close friend in a moment through just listening and seeing maybe what they need and sharing something with them. And so all these stories that we have around people being distant from us, oh, I don't know that person, really you start to realize that you know everyone because you know your heart, and everyone's heart is the same. So after I was done meditating, I had this feeling, okay, I'm going to do this project. I don't know what it is, but the universe is telling me a few things. It's telling me that our means to internal and external abundance is through giving. Because I always look at spiritual teachers who don't have anything. They might not have anything to their name, but they're able to just say, okay, we're going to build a church here, and then everyone organizes and they go and they do it. And then there's so many of us in society that are trying to just figure out how to pay our rent because we're so self-focused and the vision is so small. Why is it that someone who has nothing can build mosques and church and everywhere, and then I'm sitting here thinking about how do I pay my rent? So for me, I wanted to show how this happens, knowing that the universe gives to those who give, and that we can connect. And so I called my sister, who was working in a nonprofit at that time, and I said, bring some of your students together, because I want to interview them. And so she said, okay, great. So we got about 12 kids together. And I started asking them questions about giving. I started asking them, what's the greatest gift that they've ever been given? When someone gives you a gift, do you feel like you have to respond a certain way? Okay, if someone gave you $1,000 today, what would you do with it? Right? I asked them all these questions, and they thought they were hypothetical. When they were done, I told them, I'm actually going to give one of you $1,000. But you guys have to vote for who you want to see receive that money. You have to give your vote away. It just so happened that within this group, the very, very last kid was the only person who gave a completely selfless answer. He said, I give the money to my father because my father's been struggling and I'd like to see him have this money. It would be beautiful. His answer was really simple and short. And sure enough, the majority of people voted for him. And so it was beautiful. We got to experience that. I went and we saw his father, and we got to give him the money. And his father was like, "What? This is weird. Why someone just decided they're going to come and give you $1,000, and now you're here with the camera?" And all. So I was doing this documentary, and even at that point too, because my background is in film and production, but more as an actor. Like I wasn't actually making, and I was doing sound, and I was doing the camera, and I was like hosting. I was just doing too much, and I realized, okay, I got to get a crew if I really want to do this. And so that was 6 years ago, and my path moved into having a business for a while, but this project was always on my heart in a way of asking myself the question of how can I get people to engage, because even with the documentary, it's beautiful, and we've seen many powerful documentaries in our life, but sometimes you're left with that question, what do I do? Like, this is great, I'm moved, okay, now what, right? And so then it kept sitting with me, and it evolved into where it is now, where I actually created this pendant that says give love on the front. On the back side, there's an envelope, and each pendant comes with, and chain comes with a letter, a blank piece of paper, and you get to write a letter to humanity. You get to write whatever you want to write. You get to give of yourself. You get to share your wisdom, your ideas, maybe your challenges, whatever it is, and you wear this on your body until you feel inspired to share it with somebody, and you give them the chain, and you tell them, hey, you can do this. This is a letter I wrote from the heart. And when you're ready to pass it along, you can give it to someone else. On the letter, there's actually a tracking number as well, so people can go online and see where their letter is in the world and what people are saying about it. And so that way we can get present to the ripple effect of our giving, because what I'm also aware of in my own life is that where I am in my intention to give didn't also start with me. It came from life, but it also came because I was given in my life gifts that that were too big for me to hold on to. Things that had to spill over onto other people. So, yeah, that's it in this moment right now. And yeah, grateful to be here. I feel, yeah, the last thing that I want to share is even around this too, if anybody has the feeling, because I had a company for a while, and we were serving juice, and I'm really into people's health. And for me, how I've evolved, even in the world of commerce, is I know for my heart to be fulfilled, I have to step out of even feeling this whole feeling of exchange. Because someone asked me once about relationship, and they were saying, should the man pay for dinner? Should they split the bill? Like, what's the way to do it? And coming at it from this rational point of view, and for me, I felt like when I'm in love, when I love, it's two people chasing one another to keep giving and giving and giving and overflowing with that love, right? And so for me, I'm constantly feeling this more and more and more, and not wanting to have any walls and saying, oh, you can't participate because of this. If I have it to give, we're going to run towards one another, because to me, that is the vision of what we can do in this life. And so I'm grateful that this event is happening. I'm grateful for the attention that Chris has to just be in this conversation, because who's doing this? So yeah, thank you guys.